I've worked the overnight shift at the gas station down the road from my house for a while now. It's a quiet job. I always felt safe there, though, because the sheriff's station is just a few blocks away. If anything went wrong, help would be nearby. Or so I thought. One night, around 3:30 a.m., I was outside sweeping the front and picking up trash. The sky was clear, stars shining, the usual calm. I glanced up and noticed a man standing across the road. His back was turned, and he was swaying slightly, staring at the ground like he was lost in thought or some in kind of trance. From his clothes, I recognized him as a customer from earlier during my shift. About 4 hours earlier. I didn't think much of it at first. I assumed it was just another weird customer, one of the locals who didn't really have anywhere to be. But something about the way he was standing made my skin prickle. It was like he was waiting for something. As I was finishing up, a car pulled into the parking lot. I completed the transaction with the customer and looked out of the window. The man was watching customer's car, his eyes following the car until it drove off. When the car left, he started walking toward the store. Slowly. Really slowly. And that's when I noticed he was yelling. His words were slurred, incoherent. Nothing I could make sense of. I hurried back inside the store and slapped a temporary closed sign on the window. I could feel my heart beating faster. From where I stood, he was closer now. Closer than he had been when I was sweeping. My hands were shaking as I locked the door, but I barely got it done before he reached it. He grabbed the handle, pulling at the door. At first, I thought he was just trying to get in, but then he started banging on the glass, yelling at me. Words I couldn't understand, just a string of curses and nonsense. I backed away from the door, my stomach tight, and I grabbed my phone, dialing the sheriff's station. The whole time, his eyes were on me, watching me through the glass. I couldn't take my eyes off him, even as I pressed the phone to my ear, trying to stay calm while I waited for the dispatcher to answer. But before I could even explain what was going on, the man's eyes narrowed, and he suddenly let go of the door. Without saying another word, he turned around and walked off into the night. By the time the sheriff's deputies arrived, he was gone. They checked the area, but there was no sign of him anywhere. They asked if I knew who he was, but honestly, I didn't recognize him. He had been a customer earlier that night, but that was it. I couldn't shake the feeling of dread for the rest of my shift. The sheriff's deputies told me to lock the doors and that they'd keep an eye out, but I don't think I felt safe after that. The man was never found, and I never saw him again. Just another late-night incident. I'm still working at the gas station for now, but every time I go out to sweep, I glance over my shoulder, and every time a car pulls into the lot, I can't help but wonder if it's him. It's around 2 a.m. on a Thursday morning, and the night is dragging on, the only sound in the gas station being the occasional hum of the ice machine in the corner. I'm working the late shift, the quiet shift, the one where most of the customers are either tired truck drivers or a few stragglers who forgot to fill up during the day. I'm half watching some old rerun on TV, barely keeping my eyes open when the door chimes. A man walks in. He's dressed in a worn-out leather jacket, and his face is shadowed under the brim of a baseball cap. It's too late for someone to be dressed so casual, I think, but I don't say anything. People get weird on late-night shifts, right? He approaches the counter and says, in this soft, almost too calm voice, "I'll take a pack of cigarettes, the usual." I'm a little confused because I don't remember ever seeing this guy before. I ask, "Your usual?" He looks up at me for the first time and his eyes don't quite match. One is wide, the other almost too narrow, like it's been squinted shut for too long. Something feels off. "Yeah, same as always," he says like we're old friends. I give him a small smile, trying not to seem uncomfortable, and grab the cigarettes he's asking for. It's one of the popular brands, so no problem there. I ring it up, and I'm about to ask if he needs anything else when he slides a crumpled $20 bill across the counter. He doesn't take the change, just stares at me. "Do you ever wonder if anyone's really here?" he asks suddenly, his voice so quiet I almost don't hear him. "Like, here in this place?" I freeze for a second, trying to figure out what he means. It's a weird question. "I don't know," I say, forcing a laugh. "I guess I never really thought about it." He tilts his head, still not blinking, his eyes never leaving mine. Yeah, sometimes I wonder if I'm really here, if you're really here. The air in the room feels colder, and a strange, sinking feeling grows in my stomach. This isn't just some tired traveler. This guy is weird. He doesn't even seem to register that I've handed him the change, still just staring at me. I have to go, I say, my voice a little shaky. Got other customers waiting. He blinks once, slowly, and then his lips curl into a smile, but it doesn't reach his eyes. He pockets the change, nods, and turns to leave without saying another word. Just as the door shuts behind him, I glance up and catch a glimpse of his reflection in the window. Except it's wrong. For a split second, I swear I saw him standing in the middle of the store, staring at me through the glass, grinning. But when I blink, the reflection disappears, and there's no one standing there. I tell myself it's just my eyes playing tricks on me, but something feels off. I lock the door, double-check the store, but it's still empty. No sign of the man. Still, I can't shake the feeling that I'm being watched. The rest of my shift passes without incident, but I keep my eyes on the door, the mirrors, and the shadows for the rest of the night. As I leave the store in the morning light, I see the cigarette pack the man had bought, still sitting on the counter, unopened. Weirdest part? I've worked at this station for 3 years now, and I've never seen that guy before. I've been working the evening shift at a gas station with a mini-mart attached to it for about a year now. It's the kind of job where you expect a fair share of weirdos, the usual drunken rants, and the occasional shoplifter trying to swipe a candy bar. Over time, you get used to it, build a tough skin. But there are some regulars who push the boundaries, way past what's comfortable. There's one guy in particular, a middle-aged man named Ron, who comes in almost every night. He's harmless enough in theory, buys his beer, makes gross jokes, and tries to flirt with me like I'm supposed to swoon over his pot belly and tobacco-stained teeth. Most nights I ignore him or give short, polite answers, waiting for him to leave. But tonight, he was worse than usual. "Hey there, sweetheart," he drawled as he walked in, the scent of cheap cologne and beer already clinging to him. "You miss me?" "Evening, Ron," I said flatly, not looking up from the counter. I'd learned that giving him attention only encouraged him. He lingered by the counter, his leering eyes making my skin crawl. "You work too hard. You should let me take you out sometime," he said, leaning in closer. "I'd show you a good time." I forced a laugh, trying to keep it light, even though I felt my stomach tighten. "Thanks, Ron, but I'm good. Do you need anything else besides the beer?" "Just you, darlin'," he said with a wink before finally paying and leaving. I sighed with relief as the door closed behind him. It wasn't the first time he'd said something like that, but something about the way he looked at me tonight felt more persistent. A little later, I realized I needed to grab some inventory from outside. The evening delivery had left a few cases of bottled water by the side of the building, and I didn't want to leave them out there overnight. I stepped outside, keeping an eye on the parking lot, but it seemed quiet. Just a couple of cars fueling up and a guy browsing inside the store. I was halfway through stacking the cases onto a dolly when I heard footsteps behind me. I turned, and there he was, Ron. "Hey again," he said, grinning. His smile was too wide, too eager. "Oh, hey, Ron," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Can't stay away from the store, huh?" "You're out here all by yourself," he said, ignoring my question. Then, before I could react, he grabbed my arm. "Ron," I said sharply, pulling my arm back. "Don't touch me." He laughed, a low, greasy sound. "Aw, come on, just being friendly. You don't gotta be so uptight." "Seriously," I said, trying to stay calm but firm. "It's not okay." He didn't let go. Instead, he stepped closer and said something I won't repeat, something vile about what he wanted to do. Then he reached for his belt, his fingers fumbling with the zipper of his jeans. For a split second, I froze. My mind raced, trying to figure out what to do, how to get away without making things worse. Just as I opened my mouth to yell, I heard the door to the store slam open. "Hey!" a voice shouted. I turned to see one of the other customers, a guy in his 20s, someone I vaguely recognized as a regular, running toward us. "What the hell are you doing?" Ron let go of me immediately, his hands shooting up as if to play innocent. "I wasn't doing nothing," he muttered, backing away. Yeah, right, the guy said, stepping between us. He turned to me, his expression serious. You okay? I nodded, still shaking but grateful for his presence. Ron mumbled something under his breath and staggered off into the parking lot, disappearing into the night. The customer stayed with me until I got back inside and locked the doors. He even offered to wait until the end of my shift, but I assured him I'd be fine. After he left, I called my manager and told them what happened. They promised to look into it, but I'm not holding my breath. Now, every time I see Ron walk through the door, I feel a knot of anxiety in my chest. I'm careful not to go outside alone anymore, and I've started keeping my phone in my pocket, just in case. This job used to feel like a simple way to earn a paycheck. Now, it feels like a risk every single night. Traveling across state lines with my buddies, Ryan and Mike, and my dog, Rusty, had been smooth sailing. The plan was simple: hit a few spots, camp out, and enjoy the freedom of the open road. Everything was going fine, until the gas gauge started blinking red in the middle of nowhere. We spotted a gas station just as the tank was about to run dry. It was old but functional looking, a flickering open sign buzzing in the window. Perfect, I muttered, pulling into the lot. Rusty barked from the back seat, as if agreeing. The pump refused my card and flashed a message, "See attendant to pay." Great. I told the guys to stay in the car while I handled it. Stepping inside the store felt off. It was quiet. Too quiet. Shelves were stocked, but the counter was empty, and the cash register was left wide open. A mug of coffee sat on the counter, long gone cold. It looked like whoever worked here had left in a hurry. A chill ran down my spine, but I forced myself to stay calm. I called out, "Hello, anyone here?" No answer. Rusty barked again from the car, louder this time. My instincts screamed to get out of there. Trying to play it cool, I backed out of the store and started walking quickly toward the car. That's when I saw him. A man emerged from behind the building, his clothes dirty, his hair wild. He moved with unnatural speed, locking his eyes on me. "Hey!" he shouted, his voice raspy and furious. He started running toward me. I sprinted to the car, adrenaline flooding my veins. Rusty barked frantically, and Ryan opened the passenger door, yelling, "What's going on?" I didn't answer, fumbling with the keys as the man closed in. Just as I slammed the door shut, he reached the car, pounding on the driver's side window with both fists. His face was inches from mine, twisted with rage. His mouth moved, but I couldn't understand what he was saying. Rusty growled, his teeth bared, while Mike yelled for me to drive. I floored it, the tires screeching as we peeled out of the lot. The man gave chase for a few seconds before stopping in the middle of the road, watching us disappear into the night. We didn't stop until we reached a well-lit truck stop miles away. I called the cops to report the incident, but they said no one had been working at that station for weeks. It had been shut down after a string of violent incidents. To this day, I don't know who that man was or what he wanted, but every time I pass an old gas station, I feel Rusty's low growl and grip the steering wheel just a little tighter.